All right, I'm being joined right now by Sushant. Sareen is joining us on the phone line. A very good evening to you here from Republic TV. And it's not a surprise the IMF has rejected Pakistan's plan for a bailout because Pakistan has not been able to get itself together when it comes to its finances. Its purse strings, have, in fact, the purse strings of Pakistan, it's not in the right state, and this is not the first time. Many years have gone, and Pakistan's financial crisis continues.
Yeah, that's true, but I don't think this is the end of the IMF mission. I think there are 3 or 4 big sticking points as far as the IMF is concerned. One is, of course, on the foreign exchange management or on the rupee management. The other one is on this electricity tariffs, because the Pakistanis have something called a circular debt. And that has been virtually doubling, even tripling every 4 or 5 years. And it's crossed the 2.3 or 2.4 trillion mark right now. And what the IMF is telling them is that your energy economics is totally broken and you need to fix it as part of the structural adjustment program. The plans which the Pakistanis have been presenting to the IMF are actually neither here nor there. And the IMF has clearly picked major holes in those plans. So I think the negotiations will continue. It's a tough call for the Pakistanis because as it is, electricity tariffs are very high. If they raise the electricity tariffs higher, a lot of people will find it virtually impossible to either pay. The choice before people will be either they pay electricity bills or they eat food. And that's going to create a massive political and economic crisis inside Pakistan. But if they don't raise the electricity tariffs or do not address this circular debt crisis, then there is going to be a huge hole in the Pakistani finances, and the structural adjustment is simply not going to take off. So that is where the nub of the problem is. Now, already electricity tariffs, for example, if you're consuming about 400 or 500 units in a month, your bills are anything between 25 to 30,000 rupees. You can imagine what that would do in a country like India. There would be a revolution in India if something like this was to happen. So, so the government doesn't really want to increase the tariffs, but they have no other choice. And whatever alternate plans they are presenting, the sums are not adding up. They're not matching. So I think that is where they are at. They're going to negotiate this thing. And there's another week. I think the whole of next week, the negotiations are going to go on. I think ultimately the Pakistanis will have to sign on the dotted line because the IMF is full up to its neck on all the lies and the deception and the duplicity of the Pakistanis. They promise one thing, then they violate those commitments. Then they come back, they promise another thing, then they violate it again. So I think the IMF is sick of these games that the Pakistanis are playing, and now they are demanding that prior action has to be taken. What the Pakistanis are saying is that, look, let us phase it out. Let us spread out the adjustment process. The IMF is saying that these are games you've played with us before and we are not biting on this anymore. And that you need to do everything up front before we sanction you the money. That money in itself is not very big, but that money unlocks funds coming from other people like the Saudis, the Chinese. And please remember, all of this is with a time frame of the next 6 months. What happens after that is another matter, because next year the same cycle is going to repeat itself, only it's going to get worse. So Pakistan is in a really bad spot right now.
Right. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Sushant Sareen, a strategic affairs expert in a bad spot. Pakistan in a bad spot right now.